So here I am again with my noddy t-shirt on. There's a reason for that in a little while. So here I am in my bedroom. It's me. Oh my god, I've got a cigarette in my hand in this one. So what we're doing today, we're just going to lead on and finish off with the scooter scene. So 1980, we were all firm mods. There's us as mods. There's Phil, Crispy and me as mods. And later on, as we're going to see, we're going to turn into skinheads. So first of all, the mod scene in 1980 in Lowestoft. Now in my hometown, I have to say, it was a biker town. No two ways about it. It was, is, most probably still a little bit a biker town. To the point we had this gang called the Outcasts in our town, and the BBC even did a documentary on them. So yay! So my life turned upside down when I actually had my AP50 Suzuki, donning my little leather gear. So here's my classmates, and I'm there somewhere because I'm actually looking at a green screen at the moment in my leather jacket. So like everybody else in the town, I had a leather jacket, had my little AP50 scooter, and on my 17th birthday, I bought for £800 an 18-month-old coffin tanked RD250 Suzuki. Yay! Did 100 mile an hour. It was on the road for about 3 weeks when I actually then decided I was going to buy a Lambretta that we discussed in the last one for 25 quid. That did roughly, if I'm lucky, 65 mile an hour. And wasn't as reliable as an 18-month-old Suzuki. So the problem started the minute I got on Lambretta. The cars that would try and swipe you off the road, young kids in their cars, oh look, there's a mod, you know, motorbikes try and kick you off as well, woohoo, legs, and try and kick you off as well. I had, Phil Knights had a cigarette flung at him, we all used to wear open face helmets then, caught him just under the eye, and that was a nasty little burn there, hit his eye, that would have been goodbye. We had, where we went to Hopton Holiday Camp once, load of us on our scooters, and we got ran out by big guys wielding knives at us. Yes, literally had knives, bloody big pocket knives. So that wasn't a particularly good one. John Sharman as well, we were at a party. Well, this was in-house squabbling with another scooter club. He had a knife pulled at him at a party. What else? We had loads. Because we were then mods, and we had the skinheads in town. So the skinheads didn't like the mods, and the skinheads are always slightly older than us, just like the guys on the motorbikes were older than us. Apart from the little 125s, 250cc guys. Oh yes, I had a hammer pulled out on me while going along on my scooter, swinging it at me, just missed my head. The worst of all, I have to say, and we weren't there, was this guy called Mark Gooch. Now Mark Gooch, and he'll be holding his chrome panel out in this photo, he loved this scooter to bits. He was going along on the A12, and between Lowestoft and Great Yarmouth, and these big, he said they were Hell's Angels, I don't disbelieve him. He said they pulled him over. He said they were whacking great guys. Of course, when you're 17 years old, anything's taller than us, apart from the foot mods, who we'll get to in a minute. So basically, what happened was, he said he was pulled over. The guy, he said, pulled out a sawn-off shotgun up under his petrol tank. He said at that point, he ran off, because there was all cornfields on the A12. He ran off into the cornfields. Literally, he said he ran for his life. So, he said he stayed in cornfields, he heard them bugger off, and he thought when he got back to his scooter they would have totally trashed it. And he said good on him, he said they just left it where it was. He said he thinks they were just taunting him. Anyway, that upset him so much, he actually sold his beloved scooter, and he got out of the scooter scene. I haven't seen him since. So lots of different things went on as a mod. So as we progress, we get a year older, so we was probably about 3 inches taller. Phil, I and Crispy, we started looking at the skinhead stuff. It wasn't a conscious thing, it just happened, you know. So we started wearing flight jackets and jeans, Levi jeans, always had to be Levi jeans, and of course we always had the Doc Marten boots because we always had them at school anyway. So that was a known thing. Donkey jackets, I think Jamie was the first to wear a donkey jacket. He was basically a denim guy with the patches and everything, as you can see there, but as we were halfway on our way to Skegness in 1981. So we then went over and we grew a little bit more and turned into fully fledged skinheads. But before we got there, Phil and I had settled down a little bit with 2 girls. Hence his and her jumpers. That one didn't last too long, I can tell you. Out the window, gone. So we're back on track. Full hair jobs, the whole lot. Now Phil, he had to take it one step further. So we just shaved our heads. I remember in my mum's bathroom, and then my sister Well, Phil left a piece there. It looked like Hitler's moustache, and he'd sneezed and it had gone up. And he had it dyed. Now, he had jet black hair and it came out orange. Now, he wasn't getting on at the best of times with his dad anyway. So when he got home, after shaving his head, more like a bonehead than a skinhead, he shaved his head and left that little bit. Come knocking on my door about an hour later, Dad's kicked me out of the house. So I must admit, I was very, very lucky with my parents. They just tended to ignore anything I did or wore. And luckily we didn't get nicked. So, oh yes we did. Phil and I got nicked once. Now this is a funny story. Phil got absolutely neutered down Waller's Cafe in Alton Broad, and there was a few of us skinheads. And he plonked his ass on the pool table. Of course someone rang the police. Police turned up, put him in the van. I said, oh, that's my mate you're taking away. And I went, right, and they chucked me in. So we ended up in the cells overnight. I, of course, got let off because I did nothing wrong. And Phil did. And he went to court and got a big fine. I think it was 200 quid. And the headline was, boy drops trousers in a fight. We did go to prison one more time in the cells, but that was when we were in the Wild Bunch. I'll talk about that another day. So anyway, there we are as skinheads. And by now, Phil, myself and Crispy are hitting a different scene. So we're going to some hard out skinhead gigs, you know, oi bands slightly different than the punk bands, still on that same line, but if you're a skinhead you can definitely see the difference between the two. So you've got bands like Foreskins, Peter and Test Tube Babies, people like that. But I have to say my most favourite gig of all time had to be going to see the Anti-Nowhere League, which actually is a punk band. So that was a really, really good gig, and there's only about 100 of us in the room, and it's at the Gala in Norwich, which I don't think's there anymore. So that was a really good night. But back to the fighting, another one. Now as a fully fledged skinhead, people left you alone. People on people in cars, when you pull up at a petrol station, would go, oh look, there's a mod. And I got so pissed off one day, I took my helmet off and said, do I look like a mod? I was so fed up with that word that you're stuck with as a scooterist, basically. So scooter skins we were. Now, there was a few incidents. One was a quite interesting one. We picked some birds up when we were girls, nice girls, when we were up in Scarborough. There they are. Anyway, so we picked them up and we stayed in their B&B. One night on the way back from the B&B was quite interesting because we're ahead of a group of mods. There was some low-life other kids, and there was this guy with these bright white stay pressers, and this kid came right up behind him and just slashed right across his butt cheeks. And of course, pouring with blood. He looked like, you know, one of them things that women use when they have their time in a month. So that was not a pretty good sight to see. But the next night, the third night we stayed, the girl decided to stay with us, and so did Phil's. And we just had to keep in the Archers at the cafe in Scarborough. This is the other side of it. So there we are as skinheads on scooters, and all of a sudden you hear this old chant that came from Quadrophenia. We are the mods, we are the mods. And there was a guy next to me, he said, cover your head, they'll see you're a skinhead and they'll just go for you. So as I covered my head, they spotted us, and I was with a girl in the sleeping bag, being a polite gentleman that I am, and I laid on top of her as they all came over and gave us a good kicking. Well, gave me a good kicking, she didn't get a kicking. And then the guy next to him and Phil did as well. And then they went off on their jolly little 17-year-old way, chanting, we are the mods. So there was a lot of that, and on the back of that I actually had a t-shirt printed in Scarborough, Skins 8 Mods, which I still proudly own to this day, although I can't actually get into it anymore. So there was lots and lots of fights, and lots, I could go on forever about all the different fights we got into, but just being in Lowestoft in 1980 and 1981 was horrendous as a scooterist. You really had to harden up quick. You could not be a softie because there's always bikers out there to get you. I'm not going to name and shame them because I ended up with friends with some of them later on because I actually did work for them. And I even did work for the gang leader of the Outcasts when I was a chrome plater as well. Lovely guy called Tram. Really nice guy. Didn't really talk a lot about the scooter stuff, but he was aware of. And I just really liked him. And then I didn't see him for about 2 years, and someone said, oh, he's just been out of prison again. I'm like, how do I keep bumping into people that go to prison? Anyway, a lady came and picked all his gear up and said he's fine, but you know, you might not see him for a while. So it's quite weird how it turns around, and some of the people who I did get in a lot of fights with, the bikers, I end up doing chrome plating for as well years later. And I still am in touch with a couple of them to this day, and they say my chrome plating nearly 30 years on is still in good nick. So there you go. So the fights, wow. I don't think there's any others I really want to talk about, because you just think that we're making it up, but it was an horrendous time living in our hometown full of idiots, basically, who thought, he's on two wheels. Oh, and another one. Oh, you're riding a hairdryer. I wish I had £5 for every time I heard that. I wouldn't need to work. I really wouldn't. Anyway, so that would be it. And there's a young me. So this is just before, which I didn't say anything about. This is the night before we went to Scarborough in 1982, where it changed everything. So our scooters, obviously, we now got rid of the mirrors, no parkers. I had a donkey jack that I went up in, froze my bloody nuts off. I wish I had a parker, because I got a lining in them. So anyway, so we went up to Scarborough. That's the night before, and I'll bring another one up now. There's Crispy in my bedroom as well, and then I think there's Phil, if I can find it, and he's now drawn out the map for us to go up there the next day. And I think it was about 12, 14 of us from the Lowestoft Drifters went up there. So anyway, that was that. And a few accidents on the way there and on the way back, as you do, but I'm not going to run on about that. It was more about us turning from mods, which I learnt to despise the word for many, many years, and I still get called it to this day. Oh, you're a mod, you've got a scooter. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll just leave you with Gary. I think he's about to have a drag on his cigarette. Ta-da's!
We live and die for Friday night. Off to the pally and have a fight. Dance to reggae most of the night. When we were skins